On this episode of In the Fight, the Afghan National Police continue to face challenges as they take on more responsibility in Helmand province. We follow the first enlisted female Marines to ever attend infantry training. Soldiers provide support as the Afghan military leads clearing operations in the Paktia province. Scientists look for ways to create renewable energy on the battlefield. And we hear about a heroic story that was once hidden from the world. The Helmand province was for a long time one of the most dangerous areas in Afghanistan. Now the Afghan National Police Force is taking more control over the region, but as NATO channel correspondent Jake Tutman shows us, the ANP still faces major challenges.
In Helmand province, police training recruits attend the unveiling of the Lashkar Training Center, or LTC, a facility designed to equip them with the skills they need to take on one of the biggest challenges in Afghanistan, policing Helmand. Although the LTC was founded by the British in 2009, the unveiling ceremony marks the official transfer of all training courses and facilities over to the Afghan government.
I've had the privilege of being part of this and contributing to this for 3 years, and when I first came here this was just literally a load of tents.
The announcement was made by the Governor of Helmand, Al-Hajj Mohammed Naeem. In a press conference at the facility, Governor Naeem praised the progress made by the Helmand police and said they were winning the support of the local people.
هم مثلا تعلیم تربیه نگاه سخت هم داشته و عبادت نگاه سخت طول مثلا مسائل د پولیس اوس برابر ده و د قبل د چې پولیس د توانایي د ظرفیت لري چې هر ځای چې خپل امنیت وساتي و دشمن سره مخامخ مثلا جنگ وکړي.
The British have spent $11 million on the facility and have had a hands-on role in structuring and developing the police training courses. However, the past few months have seen the Afghans take over. A small British contingent will remain until December 2013, but in a back-seat role.
Well, as of today, we'll take very much a stand-back option. We'll give them a little bit of a shove and cajole now and again, but the Afghan functional staff and the instructors are running everything. They're doing the training, they're doing the planning, and all we're doing is steering the tiller.
Despite an increase in numbers and capability, allegations of drug use and corruption continue to blot the Helmand police force.
The mentor force here has been trying to push the message of narcotics in the police force isn't good, corruption in the police force isn't good, and that message has filtered through over the years. My job is to coach the commander, and the Afghan commander here is absolutely zero tolerant on drugs. He crushes down on corruption. He understands what the requirement for a good policeman is, and that is a product that he tries to put out in the ground.
Earning the trust of the local people and performing civic duties will be the cornerstones of the LTC. But in a conservative province where some areas are still insurgent strongholds and poppy cultivation remains widespread, policing Helmand is one of the biggest challenges facing the Afghan police force as they look towards an independent future. A challenge epitomised by the recent assassination of Helmand's most senior policewoman, Lieutenant Nagar, who was shot in the neck just months after her predecessor was also killed.
We mustn't forget that they're also still fighting an insurgency in parts of this province. They have a very tough job to do. They have to be capable of providing security against that sort of insurgency, but also be capable of providing ordinary policing services that we might recognise in a more Western society. 3 years ago we had trouble getting people sitting down in a classroom. Today you can see quite a professional organisation beginning to develop.
This is Jake Tutman from Lashkar for the NATO channel.
Earlier this year, the outgoing Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta announced the official repeal of the U.S. Armed Forces ban on women in combat. Fast forward 10 months later, and the first enlisted female Marines to ever attend infantry training completed their first week alongside their male counterparts. Marine Lance Corporal Clayton Filipovich brings us this historic story.
Marines with Delta Company began infantry training aboard Camp Geiger, North Carolina. Only, there's one slight change to the new cycle.
It's just gonna slow you down.
For the first time ever, female Marines are taking part in infantry training. Their participation supports the Corps' research into women in infantry.
Yes, sir. Us putting these Marines through ITB is no different than what we're doing in MCT. Every Marine's a rifleman. These females coming through, being ITB, we're training them to be basically trained Marines. Maybe a little bit better, take some more time with them than they would be going through MCT. I think to put a better Marine, whether she goes to her MOS school out in the fleet, we're just making her a better rifleman.
Within Infantry Training Battalion, we are holding everyone to the same standard. So there's no male or female, it's just the standard for Infantry Training Battalion. This is definitely a history point for the Marine Corps. We're assessing it, taking the data input that we have, and everything will be assessed, and no one's held to any different standards. It's all the same standard, and the Marines are going to do good things, and we'll see where history brings us.
Talking with a bunch of them, I asked them, why did you do this? And their answer to me was, I wanted a challenge. I think all Marines, they come to the Marine Corps for a challenge, and this was a way for them to put a little bit more effort and do something that, most people won't volunteer for.
Reporting from Camp Geiger, North Carolina, I'm Lance Corporal Clayton Filipovich.
Hi, my name is Specialist Miguel Vargas. I'm here in Task Force Lifeliner. I want to give a shout out to my family, my friends. Un saludo a mi familia, especialmente a mi familia, mis amistades allá en Puerto Rico. Los veré pronto. And see you soon. Take care.
Hey guys, this is Specialist Ezekiah Jackson, stationed with the Task Force Lifeliner in Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan. Just want to give a shout out to all my family and friends. Happy Thanksgiving.
This is Captain Daryl Coffey with Task Force Lifeliner in Afghanistan. I want to wish my parents, family, and friends in Mississippi and Texas a happy Thanksgiving.
Coming up, soldiers provide support as the Afghan military leads clearing operations in the Paktia province. And soldiers scan the airwaves for enemy chatter. Check out dvidshub.net for the latest accurate and reliable information as In the Fight continues. In what year did the Marine Corps welcome its first enlisted woman? The answer when we return.
I want to give a shout out to my family and friends.
I want to send a shout out to my husband,
to my parents, my family back home.
I'd like to give a shout out to my girlfriend.
To my family and friends in Lansing, Michigan.
To my family out in Tucson, Arizona.
To my beautiful wife and children in Des Moines, Iowa.
To everybody in Texas.
In York, Pennsylvania.
Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Chicago, Illinois.
Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Orlando, Florida.
Oceanside, California.
And Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
I love you guys. I miss you. And I hope I'll see you soon.
Responsible for 20 countries throughout the Middle East and Central Asia, in an area larger than the continental United States, Marine Corps Forces Central Command provides Marine Forces a unique set of command and control capabilities to our deployed forces during contingencies and crisis response operations. Equally important to our national defense are the close relationships built with our partner nations, because working together will ensure success. Marine Corps Forces Central Command, forward deployed and forward engaged.
In what year did the Marine Corps welcome its first enlisted woman? The answer is C, 1943. In the Paktia province, the Afghan National Army is venturing out on their own as they begin leading clearing operations. Army Sergeant Patrick Wolf shows us their progress with the 1st Battalion 506th Infantry Regiment, standing by to provide aid and support.
Knowing whether to step in or step back can be one of the hardest aspects of teaching. It's even harder when your partner's lives are on the line. For Dealer Company 1st Battalion, 506th Infantry Regiment, they have plenty of confidence knowing that their Afghan counterparts are competent in planning and completing their own clearing operations. As the Afghan National Army started the 2nd phase of their clearing operation around Afghan Combat Outpost Kaligoo, the U.S. forces offered to tag along and provide advice, assistance, and quick reaction force.
To be honest, the Afghans have already really taken the lead. We've taken a large step back. This last mission during Phase 2, while we augmented their QRF, it was a capacity they never asked for from us. They've asked for assets, they asked for medical support. I think they would like for us to be out there clearing villages with them, but once they get out and they start conducting operations, they find that they can really do the vast majority of it by themselves.
On the 2nd day of clearing operations, enemy combatants ambushed the Afghan National Army. They took 2 gunshot casualties, one with minor wounds to the leg, the other with critical wounds to the chest.
It's always difficult whenever you see your partners take casualties, both because you want them to improve their systems, but also because you want to give them as much support as you can. And sometimes there's a fine line between allowing them to learn and taking over and doing what you think is best.
In order to get the casualties to a hospital, the ANA had to send up a 7-line request for medical evacuation. Unfortunately, their request was rejected and eyes turned to the U.S. forces.
Copy with 3 mics out, again landing east to west, we'll be looking for red smoke, CS-17 panel.
They're still trying to become familiar, more comfortable with their medevac procedures. Because they have such few assets, it's sometimes difficult for them to understand that they need to request it before we'll commit our assets.
U.S. forces medevaced the 2 soldiers to Ghazni to receive further medical care. They were last seen in stable condition. Reporting from Paktia Province, Afghanistan, I'm Army Sergeant Patrick Wolf.
Throughout the battlefield, soldiers are trained to use their eyes and ears to spot enemy threats. Army Staff Sergeant Jose Ibarra introduces us to a low-level intercept team that scans the airwaves for enemy chatter.
Sergeant Partain is not trying to tune in his favorite radio station. He is listening to what could be the enemy planning an attack.
Trying to see if we can collect any unencrypted comms and signals going on right now.
Sergeant Partain and soldiers from Combined Task Force Dragoon are providing security and overwatch for a convoy of friendly forces passing through this small village in Kandahar Province. He is part of a low-level voice intercept team looking for enemy communication signals.
Well, the regular scenario is we go out, I have an interpreter with me, I don't speak Pashto, so I listen for any comms that come up, I ask him to interpret it for me. If it's any kind of code words or communications of interest, I'll definitely jot it down, pass that information up to whoever's in charge of the patrol.
Being able to intercept enemy communications makes a difference and allows troops on the ground to have the advantage on the battlefield.
It's crucial because as 11 Bravo, there's only so much I can do. If we don't use our enablers, then we're just making ourselves weaker for not only the operations that we're doing currently, but future operations for us, our Afghan uniformed police, our Afghan local police, and the ANA that we work with.
Well, us as an enabler, I think we're pretty important. We're able to, the biggest thing is save lives through being a really effective early warning system. Most enemy attacks are coordinated somehow through communications, and if we can get a heads up on those communications, we can actually end up reacting faster and more being proactive instead of reactive to an enemy attack.
I'm Army Staff Sergeant Jose Ibarra, Kandahar Province, Afghanistan.
What if troops could harvest energy right from the battlefield? It might sound novel, but the Army Materiel Command's research laboratory is pursuing ways to provide soldiers with continuous renewable energy while at war. Headquarters U.S. Materiel Command correspondent Joseph Givens files this report.
Army Materiel Command's Army Research Laboratory looks to transform the way energy is consumed in military operations. Dr. Edward Schaefer and the Army Science and Technology community look to help soldiers by harvesting energy on the battlefield.
We need to start thinking about soldiers fighting energy like they do
ammunition.
The military suffers most of its casualties and deaths on convoys. 80% of those are for fuel transportation. Less refueling means a more effective force and a reduction in the vulnerability of supply lines. ARL looks to lighten a soldier's load on energy by developing a system that pulls power from locally available sources.
We want to develop an architecture and a paradigm where you're building the energy network from the bottom up. So in other words, the soldier, the platform, the small command post.
Schaefer envisions soldiers linking up to an energy network or smart power grid that pulls power from all types of energy into one location and disperses it in an intelligent way without waste. Ideally, generators, solar panels, local fuels, battery storage units, and anything that can produce power can connect to an energy network and provide power throughout the day. He's calling it the Smart Battlefield Energy on Demand, or SmartBed.
We'd have a vision that, no matter where you go on the battlefield, you'd be able to collect energy from that node, so to speak, seamlessly, just like you do, with a wireless information system.
ARL doesn't stop at simply pulling in power. It also focuses on making the power we have as efficient as possible and lessening the physical burden that comes with carrying the equipment.
The average soldier carries about 18 pounds of batteries in his load. Depending on his role in the squad, he could carry up to 30 pounds of batteries. That's a lot of batteries. If we can lighten their load, make the battery last longer, then they don't have to carry so many, and they could carry other things that are important, such as water and bullets.
At ARL, the future is a seamless energy architecture that begins with concepts like SmartBed and fuel reforming for better energy conversions. From Army Material Command, I'm Joseph Gibbons.
This is Staff Sergeant Aquanet LaDon Harris, stationed with the Task Force Lifeliner in Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan. I want to wish my mom, Harriet Bennett, and the rest of my family a happy Thanksgiving. I'd like to send a special shout out to a very tiny person in my life, Shemaya Victoria Davis. I love you very much, and I'll see you very soon.
Hi there, this is Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Ted Wilson from Kandahar Air Base, Afghanistan, wanting to wish all my family and friends back in Knoxville, Tennessee, a very happy Thanksgiving.
This is Sergeant First Class Lennox Thompson, stationed with Task Force Lifeliner in Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan. I want to wish my mom, Nettie Black, and my two kids, Ava and Elijah, a happy Thanksgiving. I love you and I miss you all.
Coming up, Marines identify the most effective techniques to engage moving targets. And we'll showcase some of the best photos from our service members as In the Fight, presented by Divots, continues. What is the name of the first combat knife adopted by the U.S. Marine Corps? The answer when we return.
With the new Military 24/7 app from Divots, you turn your favorite mobile device into a window to the front lines. Connect with your nation's finest men and women through our video and photography archives and stay up to date with news reported directly from service members. Quickly share information and breaking stories with friends via Facebook, Twitter, or email. News, photos, video. Your military 24/7.
From combat-related stress to the day-to-day stressors of life.
This package is going to be completed.
This is the 4th time this week.
Stress can affect every Marine and Marine family. The De-Stress Line provides anonymous counseling for Marines and Marine families when it's needed most. If you're feeling the effects of stress, call today and let us help you win your personal battles.
What is the name of the first combat knife adopted by the U.S. Marine Corps? The answer is A, K-bar. Senior Marine leaders have identified a deficiency in the ability of Marines to successfully engage moving hostile infantry personnel. As a result, the Marine Warfighting Lab conducted an experiment to identify the most effective techniques to engage moving targets. Marine Lance Corporal Ali Beiswanger files this report.
Current marksmanship tables in the annual rifle qualification are
completely unrealistic to train a Marine to shoot a moving target. And any Marine watching this is gonna know from shooting those movers on table 2 that that's the truth.
Basically, when you go out for your annual qualification every year, you shoot 8 rounds at a moving target, which, you know, for an annual qualification might be sufficient, but is that really gonna give me the training I need in a combat scenario to where I have to shoot at somebody that's moving across my line of sight? That's not, you know, another Marine holding up a stick with a target on it, walking at a very slow pace. What am I gonna do if I have a target that's running, or I have a target that's running in a stop-and-go manner?
The robots, they came with AWG, Asymmetric Warfare Group, out of the Army, and they're basically just a head and torso. They have a spinal column that runs down that registers hits by the percussion of the round going through. It's just a pre-programmed thing, so once you punch in whatever program you want to use, it's just pushing a key to get them to activate.
Swing through, burst from the standing. Once we identify the actual technique that is most effective, then we can have the discussion about how we actually train that skill set in the Marine Corps. Potential being to implement some sort of training first as a pre-deployment requirement, and then potentially from there looking at how we modify the way we train moving target engagements for the annual training requirement for the Marine Corps as a whole.
9 years of being an infantryman, I've done one range that involved moving targets, and that's through, you know, 5 combat deployments. So if it makes it past here through the research and development stage and the data collection and actually formulates into a POI and gets spread out to the Marine Corps, I think there's nowhere we can go but up.
In the past, we've profiled several service members, each with their own unique story to tell. But Senior Airman Aaron Hauser brings us a particularly heroic story that was once hidden from the world.
This world is full of heroes, but not every hero can tell you their story. Some are sworn to secrecy, having to keep their most dangerous adventures hidden in the shadows of time. One such hero is Colonel James A. Ruffer, a retired Air Force doctor with an interesting tale to tell. Colonel Ruffer is different from most veterans in that he's served not only in the Marine Corps, but in the Navy and the Air Force as well, with a total of 26 years in the service under his belt.
I left the Navy in 1985 to go into private practice, and after 6 months called the Air Force up and said, can I come on board? I served at Edwards Air Force Base, Panama, Desert Storm, the invasion of Panama, Desert Storm, and other places.
On December 20th, 1989, 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, popularly known as Delta Force, carried out a covert mission to free Kurt Muse, an American civilian living in Panama who, at the time, also worked as an undercover contact for the CIA. Muse was being held hostage in the Carcel Modelo, the infamous prison in which the former Panamanian dictator, General Manuel Noriega, kept his deadly menagerie of Panama's most wanted. The rescue plan, referred to as Operation Acid Gambit, took almost a year to prepare and execute. But to gather the information necessary to carry out the plan, Delta Force needed a man on the inside.
He was forced to allow one doctor to visit that hostage in his prison in Panama, and that was me. I told him I need to see him every other day, so for 9 months I saw the prisoner. I worked with the United States Delta Force to help extract him. I gave them the information they needed. I helped Delta Force then plan that mission, and during the invasion of Panama, they did successfully rescue him. That took 262 days of my life, over 110 missions.
During his time in the Modelo prison, Colonel Ruffer befriended several of the other inmates, who would communicate with him using various hand gestures and signs to convey the horrors they witnessed on a day-to-day basis.
So when I went in the prison, and I saw what was happening in there and walked through blood, saw prisoners telling me that so many people were shot just the other day, that officers were killed or hung. These things were daily occurrences for me. Guns to my head. It was a harrowing experience. Thankful to know that when I went home, my family and most Americans would not be subject to that dictatorship.
After the successful rescue of Kurt Muse, Colonel Ruffer's involvement in the larger mission were deemed classified, and remained so for nearly 24 years. Fast forward to Nellis Air Force Base, August 15, 2013, when Colonel Ruffer's experiences culminate in an award which would define his career. Although Colonel Ruffer is no stranger to being in the spotlight, nothing could truly prepare him for this memorable day.
Those were loving eyes. They were appreciative, gracious. They honored me and brought me to near tears. It was one of the most emotional moments of my life to stand there and have the Bronze Star for heroism pinned on me. I will never forget it.
In many ways, receiving the Bronze Star with Valor marks the end of an era for Colonel James Ruffer.
My wife and I go home, we live alone. I'll take this uniform off. I'll have the memories of all my years of service from 1966. But I'll always miss the uniform and the service. It'll be a little heartache every day of my life, knowing that I can't come back here and pin on that medal again and have that experience. It's once in a lifetime. It's over. It's over.
Senior Airman Aaron Hauser, Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada.
DVIDS is a 24/7 operation that provides a timely, accurate, and reliable connection between the media and the military serving worldwide. Through a network of over 200 portable satellite transmitters around the globe and a distribution hub in Atlanta, Georgia, DVIDS gives you access to the front lines with live and archived broadcast video, still imagery, and print products. Visit our website at dvidshub.net and search through our enormous video and photo library. Register on our website to gain complete access to high-definition content, along with breaking news alerts and webcasts from top military officials. For questions or comments about In the Fight or DVIDS, you can email us at ondemand@dvidshub.net or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. As we close, we feature some of the best photos that DVIDS has to offer, as we listen to Eddie Horst's composition, Pangea. See you next time, In the Fight.